So I was diagnosed with HIV when I was probably about 25 in my junior year, the spring of my junior year of college. It was, it didn't come as an entire, as a shock per se. I was experiencing some chronic fatigue at the time, and I sort of figured that something was up. And so I decided to go and see a nurse at my college, and she happened to have worked with AIDS patients early on in the epidemic, and so she had a lot of background in it. And so at any rate, so she called me in and she gave me the news, just sort of ripped the Band-Aid off, and I was she then went into the giving me advice as to what I could do for myself, and to help take care of myself. And I just remember wanting so desperately to just run out of her office and never look back. One of the most impacting things that she asked me or was whether or not I planned on telling my mother or my family. And at the time I said no, and that they really did need to know, and that it would only cause additional worry. But and her response to that was, which has stuck with me ever since, which was, if my son were to find out that he were HIV positive, I would want to know so that I could be there to support him. And that actually at the time made me angry because I didn't want to have to tell anybody. I just wanted to go home and curl up in a ball and just sort of simmer on my mortality. And I remember I left campus. I had a series of meetings. I was really active in student government and in various other student groups and organizations, and I had a series of meetings that day that I was going to go to organize protests and student conferences, etc. And I remember just trying to make a beeline for the bus and worrying that my knees would buckle under the sheer weight of what I was told before I made it home. And that day, I remember I just curled up into bed and stayed there all day long. I ended up graduating, and thank goodness, because I took sort of a leave of absence from school and from work, and just sort of lived for 3 months, and tried to muster up the strength to go back and finish college, which I had been, a long time dream of mine, and was one of the first in my family to go into higher education and to graduate. So it was important for me to try and summon the courage to go back and face my campus, which I was really connected with before my diagnosis, and afterwards I just found myself brooding because I felt as though no one really understood what I was going through. At the time I was going to a school in Olympia, Washington, which is a relatively small city, and there weren't many individuals that were HIV positive, and so I felt like there weren't many people that could relate to what I was going through. And on top of that, I really felt like I was like I stuck out like a sore thumb, as though everyone could sort of see on my face that I'd just been diagnosed with this incurable disease. Or I guess it was incurable at the time, not so much anymore. But for many years, for at least 2 years, I really struggled with depression and anger issues, and finding community. Dating was a really big issue for me. It was always a question of when I was going to, come out to people about my diagnosis and how they were going to take that. I had gone on several dates with men, and I had decided, you know, maybe I'll let them know after I like them, and that didn't always work in my favor. I found that, you know, rightfully so, some people were really frightened by it, and subsequently by being intimate with me. And so that just caused me to want to drink more, smoke a lot more pot, and I was really resentful of that, and really resentful of people making me feel shameful about my diagnosis. And for a while I didn't have any sexual encounters because it was just too traumatic. I remember this one time I was with a person that was HIV negative. They were actually one of the first people I told, and we were being intimate, and I was you know, giving him a blowjob, and I thought I tasted blood, and I immediately went into shock at the idea that it's maybe I could have cross-contaminated them or infected them, and I didn't realize that the room, you know, the lights were so dim that I didn't think that he could see my facial expression, but he actually stopped and said, you know, are you okay? And at that point I just had to say, you know, I'm sorry, I can't continue, but that was the first time that I realized that I had maybe been traumatized by sex in a way, and that I had traumatized myself by putting myself in situations that had obviously increased my risk. So I remember a lot of friends telling me about, you know, trying to be more sex positive, and I remember just being super angry at the idea of being sex positive, as though I had sort of earned a right to be bitter at the world and angry at everyone else for being healthy. And I think that reconnecting with the LGBT communities and with the HIV positive and AIDS communities really helped me realize that there is nothing wrong with you know, with who I am, and with you know, that it was unfortunate, but that there might be some silver lining, that there might be some redeeming aspect of this disease. And one of the things that immediately came to mind was my view of time sort of changed. It sort of, I describe it as being warped in some ways, you know, but I felt as though, one, I felt a sense of urgency about the things in my life, the goals that I had set for myself, as though there was just no time to waste on bullshit, if you will. And at the same time, I also felt how much life could be fit into, you know, a single moment, if you will, or a year, and that so in that sense, you know, my view of time both contracted and expanded within itself, and so that was maybe a gift that I had gotten from it, and also my ability to relate to people and to the circumstances that they might find themselves in had changed. So I've made it my goal, my mission in life, to give back to the communities that helped me reclaim a sense of self and a sense of self-worth and love for myself. And that's why I work at the SF LGBT Center